Well, welcome. We're excited to have with us Mindy, who is running for the Aspen Peak School Board Seat 5, and excited to have her here with us. So thanks for joining us, Mindy.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
We've got 15 questions that have been compiled from readers of the Lehi Free Press that we'd love to be able to ask you. And so we'll have a 1 minute response from you. But if you're okay, we'll go ahead and jump right into the questions.
Sounds great.
All righty. So, first question. What professional background and skill sets do you believe are the most valuable for school board members to bring to effectively govern our new district?
Um, I honestly feel like one of the most important things that a school board member can bring is availability and transparency to those they're going to represent. So, as far as their background and what they can do, is just a really good sense of what is happening in the current school board, what we hope to have happen in the new school board. And this seat represents six schools, four elementaries, a middle school, and a high school. And my own children have gone to five of those six schools. So I think having a real sense of what, is happening at those schools, who's teaching at those schools, what the administration and the staff are like at those schools, it's going to be really key in being able to be a really good advocate and representative for those schools. So it's being part of that community and that culture, being part of the meetings that take place, the school community councils, the PTAs, etc.
Okay. Next question is what is your position or what was your position on the proposed tax increment increase to fund facilities and capital expenditures? And how would you evaluate future tax policy decisions?
That's a great question. And during this campaign, I have learned a lot about how our property taxes fund our schools. And I think one of the key things to remember with the current um, tax increase that they just passed is that they did not hit their max tax percentage that they could. That the state gives, a max tax rate. And Alpine School District, while they have raised taxes consistently, haven't ever really maxed out what they can tax at what rate. So I think they're trying to be very careful and very conservative with what they ask for, even though it looks like consistent tax hikes. It could be more in each one. So I just think that's a great thing, is to just be very conservative with taxpayers' dollars. Make sure that we're only taking as much as is needed for the school system.
Okay. Next question is what do you see as the most critical operational gaps that need to be addressed as we separate from Alpine School District, and how should we prioritize filling them?
Um, I think a lot of it is we're going from something so large to something so small. So there's going to be a little bit of, I think, kind of testing the waters in who can operate what programs and how many people are needed for each of those programs, as we shrink size, right? Because obviously we're not going to need the district staff that is currently employed for all of Alpine School District in this smaller school district. Um, I do think that some of the key areas to be really concerned about is our special education areas, and make sure that those are staffed really well and filled well. Um, Obviously, having a really great superintendent, business manager, all of those things, if we can find dynamic people for those positions and jobs, hopefully that will help us to make sure that we go into a smooth transition.
Okay. Next question is how would you approach creating the Aspen Peaks inaugural budget, and what factors should guide our financial planning process?
Um, Obviously, we'll be working with the superintendent to create that budget, but I do think one of the most important things to consider as we create the new budget is looking at our teachers that have been in the school in Alpine School District for a really long time, and making sure, first off and foremost, that they are taken care of, that their retirement, their pay lanes, their benefits are all up to standard and competitive for this area so that we can retain the best talent. because I really do believe that it's our teachers and our staffs at our schools that affect our children's education and kind of forecast their success the most. So we're going to have more competition than we've ever had having these two other school districts right next to us. So being able to attract and retain just really outstanding teachers and staff, I think is going to be key in setting our budget.
Okay. Next question is, how would you evaluate tax incentives and requests from development agencies, and what criteria should guide these decisions?
This is a hot topic in Lehi all over, whether it's school board or city council. I think that one thing that's really important is making sure that those developers are investing in to what they're planning to do, right? So if they're creating a large community that's going to have a lot of children that need to be educated, then we need to take that into consideration, and they need to take that in consideration in the project that they're forming, that we'll have to have more resources for a specific planned development depending on what that looks like. If it's high density housing, we're going to need more money because it's going to equal more children. If it's lower density housing, right? Like, I think really planning ahead is something that has been a struggle in this area. No one has really planned well for the growth, and I think that working together with developers will be key in looking for that growth.
Okay. And how would you approach establishing district policies for Aspen Peaks, adopting existing frameworks or developing new ones?
Oh, this is something I'm most excited about. Um, Alpine School District has been around for a really long time, and it has a lot of really old policy on the books that is constantly being updated. And I think it's been hard, especially in the last 5 years, to um, take that policy and make sure that it is standard across all of your schools, getting to the people at the places at the right time. I've had my own children come home and we've done something one way for many years, and then they're like, oh, they're telling us it's district policy that we can't do this anymore. So I think creating really strong policy that is communicated really well to each and every one of our schools is so important, because then once families know the policy, then they help you support it, right? When teachers know the policy, then they help you support it. And it creates a culture in your district that everyone's on the same page.
Okay. Next question is, what approach should the district take in establishing relationships with employee unions and negotiating collective bargaining agreements?
That's a really good question. And I wish I knew more about it. Honestly, that's probably a place that I need to look more into. I do know and have met with the Alpine Education Association, which is the association that the teachers work with, and their role in potentially helping, um, you know, retain great teachers, that they help teachers make sure they get great benefits and those kind of things. Um, Ultimately, I think the most important thing to remember is that my job is to educate children and to make sure that the children are the number one benefactors of any deal or collective bargaining. Because as you know, a voted in representative, that's where my allegiance has to stand, is to what will really support the children in this school district.
Okay. And the next question is, how should Aspen Peak School District engage with state legislators and position itself on education-related legislation?
This is another thing I'm really excited about, because I think this is a really, really important part of being a board member, and that is really being an advocate at the legislature for these areas. Again, these 6 schools that seat 5 will represent are the schools that are really important to me, the schools my kids have gone to, and I cannot wait to get on Capitol Hill and really tell them about these schools that I know so well. What we need from the legislature, what we need in our laws. Um, I think that's something that can be better used in being a great advocate for our district at the legislature.
Okay. Next question is, how would you balance educator professional autonomy with community standards regarding classroom displays and teaching materials?
Um, again, this comes back to like what is going to help our children be in the best environment for learning. And a lot of that time that isn't necessarily, my personal likes or dislikes. It's my job as an educator to really, educate these kids, love them, educate them, make them feel safe and welcome in your classroom. So all of the things that you display in your classroom should have that singular goal, is to make sure that the kids that we're educating are the priority, that they feel welcome and they feel safe, and that they learn what they're meant to learn, whatever class you're in, right? That it's appropriate for the subject of whatever class you're participating in.
Okay. Next question is how should the district handle parent concerns about instructional material and library resources while maintaining educational quality?
Having family feedback is huge, and it's such a part of, again, creating a really welcoming culture in Aspen School District. Um, and obviously, controversial material is going to be something that comes up. And what I would love to see in Aspen Peaks is having like a really strong controversial issue policy, where if a family or a community or someone has a concern, that we have a very, true and tried process of taking that through the district to make decisions that support our administrators, our staff, our teachers, and then ultimately support the children.
Okay. Next question is what approach the district take regarding health education curriculum and material selection?
Um, Obviously, that's a huge question. And, hopefully that the home is the best teacher for a lot of our health, sex education um, topics, but obviously it needs to be supported in the school as well. I think looking at curriculum, helping, maybe even like involving families and parents in choosing that curriculum could be a great thing to make sure that we're really addressing the needs of our specific community and what right here in Lehi, these schools find appropriate or not appropriate. Um, I do think that working together and collaboration is going to be key in going forward on some of those issues.
Okay. And next question is what role should civic education and constitutional studies play in our curriculum, and how can we best prepare students for citizenship?
I love this question. So my mom was a school teacher and she taught US history, and she had a big thing that talked about civic virtue and integrity. And I think that's a really amazing thing to teach, I strongly believe in the Constitution and teaching that to the next generation and teaching them that everyone has an active role. That's why I'm even running, right? I saw a need that I had hoped we would have a great new school district and felt like it was something that I could really help and step up to do with my experience. So um, I think this is a great thing to incorporate again as part of this. Aspen Peaks is going to develop this culture. And I would love it if we were strong on being a strong proponent of the Constitution and having everyone do their part to make sure that our kids are educated well. That's part of being, part of a great community.
Okay. Next question is how would you approach decisions about graduation requirements and academic standards to best serve our students' college and career readiness?
I think that's great. There's so many more options for students as they leave high school now. Um, Obviously, traditional college is still and university is still a great path, but there's a lot of other paths that exist that can really lead to, adult success, career success later in life. So I do think that looking through and seeing what requirements will best suit um, kids is a great thing to kind of review. I do think that, if kids early on have a propensity towards a specific subject or a specific trade, that then maybe there's different paths that students can go on. A path that would get them into a trade school or a path that would get them into a university or college.
Okay. And next question is, how should this district respond to state policies regarding charter schools and school choice programs that may impact enrollment and funding?
Um, you know, Obviously, I love public education. I've had two children graduate through Alpine School District in the normal public schools, and it has worked really well for my family. They've received excellent educations for them. But I know that it isn't always a great fit for every student and every family. So I do think having some school choice is important. Um, I'm concerned about how some of that school choice is regulated. Um, I'd like to see potentially a little bit more regulation. Charter schools are fairly well regulated. They get their funding from the state in a similar way that public schools do. Um, I think a wide voucher program can be harmful for public school, um, for everyone, but would love to retain some school choice so that, individual needs of families and children can be taken into account.
Okay. Second to last question. What role should trade skills and technical education play in our district's offerings, and how would you expand these opportunities?
Oh, I would love to see them expanded. Um, Technical schools and just obviously all of those skills, I think is a big part of our future. So um, going into the new Aspen Peaks, it's something where we can look at what schools do we currently have? What do they offer? And the potential of in sometime in the future of a new technical school, I think is something to really look at. I think it's would provide a lot of um, just technology that is part of our future that really could apply to a lot of kids. So yeah, I would be completely for looking and investigating into having those resources and potentially having a trade school, a technical school right here in Aspen Peaks.
All righty. And the last question is open forum. 1 minute that you have to be able to say whatever you'd like to the voters here.
I'm just really excited about this opportunity. Um, I was really for the split because I just felt like our representation in such a large district was just not present. I know that a lot of my teacher friends and administrators were against the split because they essentially lost their jobs. So one reason I'm running is to make sure that our wonderful teachers are protected in this split and this transition. But also, I'm just really looking forward to having such a smaller pool of schools for each board member to represent and advocate for because I think we can get more done. And I think it can be more tailored to exactly what is happening here in Lehi in, the schools that Seat 5 represents. So I'm really excited for that. And one of the things that I love about Lehi and what I can see going forward in Aspen Peaks and in its culture is we have such a strong volunteerism. So I think parents will step up and make sure it's a great district.
All righty. Well, thank you so much for your time, Mindy. I know it's not easy throwing your hat in the ring, jumping on here, 15 questions in 15 minutes. So thank you so much for your time, and we wish you good success in the campaign.
Thank you so much.